by 1-0. So let me explain what happened. We're sorry you missed game one. Basically, during that epic encounter between Tom Martell and Pascal Maynard in the quarterfinals, they set up and began the semi-final between Chilbert and CASTOR. So here we go with the semi-finals of Grand Prix Indianapolis 2012. There you see the brackets. And once again, Colin Chilbert leads Kenny CASTOR by 1-0. So we're going to join it for game two. The players are shuffling up. By the time Martell and Pascal Maynard were finished, there you see Colin Chilbert, who leads 1-0, and Kenny CASTOR on the right of your screen. Basically, they were into their game one. We have a policy: we don't move players during games. It isn't fair to them, and especially not, Sheldon, when you're looking at a combo deck in high tide that is in the middle of a turn that is going to feature a huge storm count, a vast mana count, multiple time spirals, multiple high tides, lands tapping for 4 mana at a pop. You just don't interrupt that to shift them 6 foot to the left.
Yeah, you don't want to interrupt the train of thought, especially. You don't want to have external impact on a match if you can avoid it. It's easily avoided. Keep the players focused on the game. Head judge Ricardo Tessitore there having a chat with both players.
I'm going to do a little psychic reading here. I'm going to announce that he's talking to them about the speed of play.
Yes.
So while we were away, we actually went and watched the end of that first game. And obviously when high tide's going off, it's a turn that is a lot more than your average turn 3 of a sealed deck.
Right.
But nonetheless, there was some pretty substantial... I'll tap this. That was speeded up a lot, by the way, just so you know. So Chilbert, nonetheless, finally went off, made Kenny CASTOR draw his entire deck, and that was enough to give Chilbert the lead 1-0. And he has just been an assassin all weekend with his high tide deck, purely metagamed to face Maverick. He felt it was a really good matchup for him there. He faces an interesting match with CASTOR, with Rug Delver, and he is one match away from the final.
Chilbert, we had on camera round 9 yesterday. We watched him go to game 3, make the effort to go off and sputter out when the odds were actually highly in his favor. I mean, because he time spiraled and then drew a Brainstorm and a Ponder, I think, and
yeah, certainly went 7 reload with time spiral. Here's a Brainstorm. Oh, really? And, so we're underway. CASTOR taking a point.
And there's the turn 1 Candelabra from Chilbert.
Which is arguably a bit more exciting than the turn 1 Delver sequence.
Depends, no transformation there. It's actually another Delver that he drew. So CASTOR gets in for 1 here. That's Counterbalance.
We'll get halfway towards Counterbalance top.
Well, we saw Kenny CASTOR himself sneak through Caleb Durward's Counterbalance top lock in the previous match.
Surgical Extraction on the top of the deck,
which has a mana cost of 1.
And that's past the turn without a second land for Colin.
That's bad news for Colin.
Yeah. And Sectile Aberration now attacks for 3. Out comes Tarmogoyf.
Which is currently 2/3.
Still no land for Colin?
Well, he was counting on looking at a little more of the top of his deck, I think.
Sure. Oof. And scoop. Well, you waited a while to see the semi-finals, and Ricardo Tessitore, who you see there, urged them to play a little bit quicker, and, well, they did. To the point in which they barely played the game at all.
Yeah, I don't think the result of that game had anything to do with playing more quickly.
No. No, Colin Chilbert thoughtfully neglected to play anything of substance. So we will head for a game 3. Which, of course, we will bring you right here. It'd be pretty miserable. He was desperate to see Chilbert on camera in the top 8, and then, right, well, that was game 2. Let's head across to Martel. No. We will, of course, bring you what we can of Tom Martel and Dan Jordan in their semi-final. They're just getting underway on the back table. But hopefully we've got a nice, competitive game 3 to bring you here.
Yeah, I think Colin Chilbert was really counting on that preordained resolving. I mean, he kept the one land preordained candelabra hand, counting on the preordained to
find him goodness.
To find him something that he can get rolling with, and Counterbalance just wrecked him.
Wasn't the first, won't be the last. Chilbert on the play, 1 trusts for game 3.
So initially we thought there was only 1 or 2 high tide decks in the field, and we saw there was a fair number of them gravitating toward the high tables later on.
Yeah, what Chilbert said, which is that it's well positioned in the meta game, does just turn out to hold true, and there are other people who arrived at that conclusion and piloted it well. It's also, I think, interestingly, almost the reverse of the blue-white Stoneforge decks. With blue-white Stoneforge, there are so many good cards, that just fundamentally good cards, that most ordinary players, whatever an ordinary player might be, will think, well, I could have some success with blue-white Stoneforge because look at all the good cards in it. Jace the Mind Sculptor, I get to play with Jace.
Right.
The High Tide is packed with cards that are broadly rubbish. Right? No, I mean, seriously. It's like, hey, it's a tutor that lets me tutor for an instant only.
Right.
Hey, I can untap my lands that I've got nothing to do with. You know, the cards themselves, 4 mana, Turnabout, 4 mana, Jace the Mind Sculptor. These are not the same things. So if you're going to play High Tide, you only play High Tide when you really think you know what you're doing.
Right.
So I think there is inherently a high level of player who packs up High Tides and Time Spirals to come to Battle War in a way that lots of ordinary players will go, I've got some Jace the Mind Sculptors, I'll play with those.
All right, so in the match, Chilbert has started quickly with Candelabra, and then has tried to play a Merchant Scroll that Kenny Castor has said, please don't.
So something else for Castor to ponder.
We see Time Spiral already in Chilbert's hand. We see a pack of Negation already in his hand as we're flipping through.
That could be pretty important. Because that's the unconditional, free, hard counterspell that you don't care about the drawback. At least. I mean, now, of course, he'll get halfway to going off, fizzle, and then find he can't pay for the pattern rolling turn.
Which we've seen happen twice this weekend.
Indeed.
And once it could have gotten paid for.
Yes.
The player just simply forgot. Well, now, he would have had to go through some gyrations. So he had 4 land, but he had 2 High Tide and 2 Turnabouts in his hand.
Yeah. So we see Delver in play for Kenny Castor, Candelabra of Tornos in play for Colin Chilbert, who untaps with 2 islands. His deck is packed full of basic blue mana producers.
There's the Brainstorm.
So 3 cards go into hand. So Time Spiral, Turnabout. Turnabout looks like it's going on top. There's a Meditate, see there. Play another land.
Yeah, turnabout's a card you don't really need until you're doing your thing.
Yeah, here's Merchant Scroll again. This is going to be countered by days. Back we go to Castor. One land, doesn't transform Delver of Secrets. As he draws another land, he will tap the one he has in play, Tropical Island, or Senses Divining Top. Land number 2, Delver attacks for 1, Chilbert to 18. And that will be all she wrote for Kenny Castor on this particular turn. Chilbert now will cast Meditate. Say, is it alright if I draw 4 cards? 4 cards is a lot. Senses Divining Top. Kenny Castor takes a look.
He just doesn't fear skipping the turn. This isn't a case of I'm going to go off this turn. This is a case of you can't kill me with the extra turn.
Which I think is certainly true. Delver will transform, attack for 3, make a Delver, and he'll be happy. 18's a lot of life when you're not facing a burn deck.
Right.
Castor has lightning bolts.
Chilbert may enjoy the luxury of quite a bit of time here.
Yeah, I mean, this turn could change quite a lot, because if you make another Delver, or let's say Tarmogoyf, suddenly the clock's significantly shorter.
There it is.
Yeah.
Did I miss something? Did they not skip a turn?
I don't think
you might want to go catch them.
Better just check what went on there. Oh, what's going on here?
Yeah, we may have run into a significant problem.
Boys, stop. And I mean, did we miss the Meditate getting counted, or? Or is this a legitimate oops? Oh, now, lip reading skills to the 4.
Yep.
I believe we just saw Colin Chilbert go, I forgot. I just forgot.
He just took his next turn. I just took his next turn.
Well,
but boy, did a lot happen
I played Spencer
in the 60 feet from here to there.
Okay. Did you actually start your turn?
Yeah, I started my turn. I played a spell.
Okay, so Head Judge Ricardo Tessitore here is going to have to bring all his skills to bear.
Yeah,
now,
I mean, I drew
just as one for his turn.
Yeah, I drew one for my
now,
turn. Went to the main phase.
So although he's
played
there
defected, and then
physically, because he is the last, he is the commander-in-chief. It is that man in the shop right there who is actually going to
probably not.
Will they just do a little shortcut that's perfectly acceptable and cut straight to Ricardo?
Probably.
Because there's no suggestion of player appeal, I guess, at this point, because both players can understand that there is the discussion going on. And it's clear that a thing has occurred.
Right. Here's the thing. Also, Kenny Castor's responsibility to make sure that Colin Chilbert skips his turn.
Sure.
So he's as culpable as Chilbert is here.
Yeah.
The infraction, game rule violation.
Right.
Because we certainly don't
believe you want the exact
that Colin is trying to cheat.
I played Meditation Resolve.
So this is definitely a game rule violation.
Right.
Magic
I
is
untapped,
really,
I drew
really
a card,
complicated, and
I played
sometimes
defense
even
grid,
good
and he said
players
force of will.
forget stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
And he
when
said
you
force
see
of will.
when
That's where we're
some
at.
players lose games.
The issue here is that since that mistake occurred, we've seen a defense grid come down.
I mean, it's not really difficult to
We've seen a
go
force
back.
of will.
That wasn't the card I
Kenny
drew.
Castor.
Right. I'm probably not even going to cast any spells.
I believe it
You
was
might
a step 3 that was possibly in progress before the actual wheels came
After the dust settles here,
There is an
I'd love to
inflection.
get Ricardo
We have two possibilities. Either we
talk about what you said,
rewind
maybe between
until the moment when the mistake
Yeah,
happened,
either that
or we have the game continue. And the reason for our choices depend on how many actions happen after the infraction and the choices you made.
What?
And the choices you made. So after the mistake, you went up, you drew, you played spells, and you played your Force of Will, and you played this one.
So we're just going to go back, right?
So many actions were made.
Oh, no, there were just two.
According to our policy, we have the game continue.
What?
Wow.
Are you kidding? So,
Stay calm.
what? Okay.
Stay calm. Stay calm. We have
He drew 4 cards
Stay
and
calm.
didn't get a skip a turn. You want me to stay calm? How much money are we playing for again?
we are talking.
Yeah, I know.
We are talking.
Yeah. Okay. So since we have it on camera, let's just rewind it. How about that? Or how about this? I won't even play a spell. Just let me take another turn. See, like,
I would like you to behave in the same way you behave at the table.
yeah.
The fact that we are on camera should not change the situation.
But you,
I really need you to keep
Okay.
your word.
well then let me ask you this,
We are talking about the situation.
right? So why can't we just take it back? We have it on camera.
I will be back to your job.
Okay. That's bullshit.
So they just both missed it. The defense grid. So the defense grid occurs because there is no skipping of a turn because they both missed it.
Yep.
You swung, played a Delver, and then we both forgot about.
So
Would you allow me?
Sean, why don't you just go away for a bit?
Let me go consult
and
with Ricardo.
put a little different shirt on for a minute, as it were. Well, Rashad Miller.
Hey, how's it going?
Life is pretty awesome and occasionally controversial.
It feels just like magic.
Well, yeah, we both.
Oh wait, was that what you're building to? Did I steal your thunder?
You could never steal
Well,
my
I
thunder.
mean, I saw this cloudy lightning thing over
Uh-huh.
your head, and I just grabbed it. I didn't know if it was yours or not.
I mean, this is desperately difficult. The thing is, it's desperately difficult to back up in the sense that here's I mean, look at that screen right now. If there is a defense grid in the graveyard, and the reason it's there is because the Force of Will and the Ponder you can see on the right of your screen has notionally finished resolving, placing the defense grid in the graveyard. So ignoring the skipping the turn thing for a minute, if all we were doing here was, oh, you forgot to untap, so even if all we were doing was trying to go back to the start of a turn, you'd have to put a defense grid back into hand that hadn't been cast, you'd have to untap 2 islands, you'd have to put a Ponder and a Force of Will back in a hand. Both players would be aware of those things. And that's before you get to the bit where you then force the player who now, oh, by the way, I've revealed that I have a defense grid and I know I've got this on the other side, now has to skip their turn. So there's an awful lot to undo if you're going to undo it.
I don't think undoing.
And you're not meant to undo it.
Yeah, undoing is not the answer.
Okay. So here's the next potential question. Do you enforce the meditate to apply to the next turn?
I mean, that's interesting.
Do we remember what Colin drew at turn?
I do not believe we saw what Colin drew that turn. but nor do I remember seeing the defense grid on previous occasions. So if there was a question such as, did you draw defense grid that turn, you might be, I don't know.
I can.
Okay, there.
Want me to try to find out? I have technology on my side.
Okay, so Rashad Miller's leaving me, Sheldon Menery is leaving me. Now I will sing. No, I'm actually contractually obliged not to, you'll be pleased to hear. So what we're going to do, Rashad Miller is going to rerun the tape and go back and see if we can find out what Colin drew on that turn.